So this video is a complete takedown of Ron DeSantis. I should have done this a while ago. Alright, so on charismanews.com, atheists demand apology for atheist smear from Ron DeSantis. So, on June 9th, the Florida governor, during a press conference, spoke about an attempted assassination on Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, claiming it was essentially the work of the people without religion. Quote, people without religious foundations were prone to criminal violence, though these claims were useless and no evidence on the contrary ever occurred. It's sort of something that this country won't ever push back on, though, since it's his freedom to say, unfortunately. Alright, so there's this bill on FloridaPolitics.com. Governor Ron DeSantis, in 2002, June 27th, signed a bill, SB 245, allowing places of churches and worship to decide whether to stay open during the lockdown. Ironically enough, it was only recent that in April 2020, a Michigan pastor held a gathering of more than 10 people going against the health concerns, getting arrested after that. But DeSantis eventually lifted the bans of a Republican Senator, Jason Brodeur, commenting in agreement. At the time, when people are anxious, you would think house of worship would be the first place to go. Obviously, it's more than just a worry with a pandemic, but these people don't care. Yeah. But general assumptions of God's protection probably follow, and that's why they think they can just be safe. In the No Patient Left Alone Act, even though it sounds good and sweet on its face, it's really just an anti-scientific approach out of sympathy, allowing people minimal visitors at a hospital at the risk of more exposure. So this overlaps with his church going during a pandemic. He, for some reason, just wants hospitals to be overcrowded more than they already have been in the past, and just people visiting suddenly. In June 16th, 2021, signed into law the Moment of Silence Bill, forcing a moment of 60 seconds in the classroom to prayer. Obviously, it serves no education, but merely an excuse to slip religion back to kids. State Representative Randy Fine claiming, I fundamentally believe that our states have issues today because they don't have a moment of reflection. In response to the Douglas High School shooting, so this is being weaponized. You know, you remember the whole Fox News thing, prayer, we need more prayer, and guns, we need more guns. You know, the 50 solutions thing? Yeah. Anyways. I'm sorry, but it's not what our founding fathers believed in, when it comes to pushing God out of every institution, Ron DeSantis said. But of course, he makes the comment as our ancestors stereotypically freed religious persecution. So he keeps using the same line that conservatives like to use, that we are fundamentally a Christian country. You know, despite all the fakeness of the melting pot and, people being able to come here without any issues at all. Anyways, in spring 2020 this year, a story exploded everywhere that Ron DeSantis was going to sign a bill that would make it possible to conceal carry without a license. Lots of places were saying he opposed regulations at all, but fact checkers would tell you there's no direct quote or proof of this. Though it's shocking alone without the guesswork from other people, so I don't think we can act careless just because of the hyperbole that exists. But there are tons of supporters to unfortunately get this to not just be a rumor. As State Representative Spencer Roach says, quote, I think that I don't need a permission slip from the government to carry weapons to protect my family, and the only permission slip I need is the Second Amendment. DeSantis asking and riling up a crowd asking, why do you want your rights to be controlled by officials? You know, basically completely riling and instigating these people up. Alright. On alternate.org, in an article called Ron DeSantis Claims Florida is Teaching Real History as School Censorship Laws Take Effect. I actually want to read this full thing because this is just insane. Alright. As the controversial Don't Say Gay law goes into effect in Florida, Ron DeSantis recently expressed concern about what he believes to be an attempt to distort history. Although he and Republican lawmakers in the state have moved to silence truth. On Friday, July 1st, the Republican governor delivered a speech about the newly enacted law as he criticized other regions of the country. Quote, "What we've seen in different parts of this country is to try to distort history as a way to pursue an agenda here in the present day. We have said that this is not appropriate in the state of Florida, and so you're learning the real history." DeSantis' remarks come as other Republican-led states have also attempted to enact similar laws. In Texas, an educational adversary group had proposed advocating the word slavery from educational tools and replacing the term with involuntary relocation. Already, that proposal is facing blowback in State Board of Education members. Aisha Davis shared her opinion with the Texas Tribune. According to Davis, referring to slavery as involuntary relocation is not going to be acceptable. The Tribune also emphasized, quote, "Part of the proposed social studies curriculum standards outline that students should compare journeys to America, including voluntary Irish immigration and involuntary relocation of African people during colonial times." End quote, by the way. The latest outlandish push to rename slavery follows Texas Governor Greg Abbott's signing of the SBC law, which, per Dallas Morning News, prohibits teaching certain concepts about race. Further dabbling into the educational stratosphere, DeSantis also joined former U.S. Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos' push to privatize public schools in the state of Michigan. However, recent developments suggest his support of Davos has very little to do with education. Back in April, it was reported that over the course of the last 4 years, DeSantis' campaign had received $500,000 in campaign donations from the DeVos family. DeSantis' educational track record also include a number of their disturbing facts. The Republican governor also faced backlash and ridicule for his misplaced attacks on the critical race theory. Also in April, the Florida Governor Department of Education issued a press release titled "Florida Rejects Publishers' Attempts to Indoctrinate Students," banned, where it was announced that 41% of all math books in grades K to 12, including a whopping 71% of books in grade 5, K5. Many have criticized the governor for pushing certain agenda for political gain while neglecting real issues that matter. In 2016, one of the worst shootings in the country happened when 49 people were killed in the Pulse nightclub, done by a man named Omar Mateen. Governor Rick Scott represented them by declaring it Pulse Memorial Day, saying, "Mourn the tragic loss of life and recognize the lasting impact it has on our state and communities, including Florida's LGBT community." Though Florida Governor DeSantis, making his own statement, had his own angle that wasn't quite right at all, as it completely lied or omitted things about the event. Ron initially didn't mention the LGBT community, didn't acknowledge the Hispanic demographic, and called the shooting an ISIS member when the shooter was born in New York. Representative Anna Eskamani, critical of Ron, states, quote, "Imagine if the mayor of Pittsburgh didn't talk about the Jewish community in a proclamation about the synagogue shooting." In 2019, Ron DeSantis decided it was randomly timed, people didn't need help anymore, as he vetoed $150,000 that was meant for survivors of the Pulse shooting still mentally going through trauma. One man, Brendan Wolf, says, still reliving the friends who died in the shooting, quote, "Here's Ron DeSantis in 2019 standing on hallowed ground, promising me that he would support those of us impacted by the Pulse Night shooting." Wolf wrote on Twitter, "Today, he vetoed mental health services for us all. I will never forget." Unfortunately, his defunding didn't end there, as on that very day, he stripped $750,000 from the Zebra Coalition that shows support for housing LGBT youth. And with this happening, the executive director, Heather Wilkie, said, quote, "Now we're going to pick up these pieces, and there's never going to be any support for housing them." Ron DeSantis removed LGBT community from the anti-bullying rule, which shocked equality-based officials. Quote, "A politically motivated assault on the LGBT community is putting young people at risk," said Equality Florida Executive Director Nadine Smith. Quote, "Vulnerable youth deserve better than a DeSantis administration intent on putting them in harm's way in order to score cheap political points." That's it for now.